Hey friends, this is Mark Hallock, and I want to personally invite you to our biggest event of the year, the 2026 Replant Summit, August 25th and 26th in Alpharetta, Georgia. Now, this year's theme is Every Church Matters, Mobilized, Multiplied, because we believe God is not finished with struggling churches. You'll be encouraged through practical sessions on discipleship, community engagement, church renewal, multiplication, and more. Plus, you'll connect with pastors and leaders who understand both the challenges and the joys of the work of church renewal. Now, space is filling up quickly, so reserve your spot today. We would love to see you at the Replant Summit. Register at churchreplanters.com.
Welcome to Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton and Mark Hallock, where we equip pastors to take their churches from declining to thriving by pointing them to a new future and a new hope. Join us weekly for encouragement and practical advice in your pastoring journey.
Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton and Mark Hallock.
Hey.
As they applaud each other. I'm Dan Hurst. There's Kyle Bierman over there. And we've just finished, and I hope that at some point you heard this in the series that we do, a series on deacons, which would be invaluable. By the way, I wanted to say something. Take those three. There's three of those. Take those and let your deacons listen to them. Man, you talk about a way of getting some conversation started.
It'd be really helpful.
Yeah, it could be very helpful. But in the conversations that I've been having with my deacons, one of the things that we talk about is that we are church in revitalization, and we also use the word renewal,
right?
Which is certainly valid. But normally we've always thought of renewal as just a program. You follow a system and you suddenly are renewed or you're revitalized. But the word is a whole lot bigger than that.
It is.
And you came up with these ideas of these different types of renewal.
Yeah, arenas of renewal.
Yeah.
I think it's when you look at there are different types of renewal.
That's good. Yep.
Different arenas of renewal, and we need to function within these different arenas. So, every church needs to be renewed.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the reasons we use this renewal. I mean, certainly, whether we're talking about revitalizing, replant, renewal. Obviously, replant, that's when your church is about out of runway, right?
Yes.
I mean, you don't have time to renew, or revitalize. You got a couple of years and you're going to be done.
Yep.
Well, then you got to get replanted. But revitalization is, man, we are really in a deep decline here. Something's not working. It's not working right at all. We're not reaching people. We got to get back to life. And renewal is probably more, there's some things we need to improve.
Yep.
I'm sensing every year you got to be renewed.
It's like ongoing.
It's ongoing.
Yeah, that's
Always
right.
seeing where's God at work. What's he want us to do? We can't get stagnant in our spiritual growth.
That's right.
We can't get stagnant in our church growth. We've got to always be renewing.
So it's not so much systematic as much as it is systemic.
Oh, that's
perfect. Something that you are.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
So here are the 5 arenas that we've discovered, and there are probably more, but we're just going to use these 5. And Mark, first talk about this spiritual renewal.
Yeah.
Where everything
begins. Renewal, revitalization, it all begins understanding this is spiritual work. And we talk about this a lot, and we always will. Only the Lord can bring new life to a struggling church. Only the Lord can do it. So this isn't simply about trying to find a magic bullet to turn your church around. This is about, as Clifton often says, seeing the hearts of God's people warmed to the gospel again, right? And because it's a work of the Spirit, that's what we need. This is why we emphasize prayer. Prayer is more than just an optional strategy. I mean, prayer is our lifeline to God, where we say we are dependent on you. I think I've shared this before, but a guy named Daniel Henderson, heard a quote from him. He said, our prayerlessness is our declaration of independence from God.
From God.
Our prayerfulness is our declaration of dependence on God. And that's where it all begins. And so when we talk about spiritual renewal, we're talking about the heart of a people becoming soft again to the things of God, right? Lord, this is your church. Lord, this is not my church.
Right.
We want to be faithful to you. We want to do what you want us to do. Without that heart, Clifton,
we're not going to get to the other arenas of renewal if we don't get this one.
That's right.
It begins with this.
It begins here.
And it begins in the heart of the pastor. We have to be spiritually renewed.
That's right.
For sure. And then we have to lead our people in spiritual renewal. And again, ever since we started this work a couple of decades ago, the Lord has really revealed to me the first step in church renewal is to get their hearts to warm to the gospel. What is their heart warm to? Many times it's warm to the comfort of the church as we know it, the consistency of the church as we know it, the program as the church as we know it, the way the church is structured, the way things in a world where everything is so uncertain. Man, to go to this church and everything's just like it's always been, that brings me a sense of comfort. Well, your comfort needs to come from Christ.
Yeah.
And he may ask you to step outside your comfort zone and to be with him. And that's only going to happen in spiritual renewal. We talk all the time about experiencing God and finding out where God's at work and joining him in it. But Henry would always say, once you find out where he's at work and that is his invitation for you to join him in it, then the next thing that happens is a crisis of belief, crisis of faith, rather. Do I have enough faith to make the changes necessary?
Right. Do I believe?
And how close and intimate am I with Christ to know that I'm supposed to make these changes? So David Jackson on our team, working with Claude King, who helped Henry write Experiencing God, they worked together on a wonderful tool, and Kyle will put it in the show notes, Falling in Love with Jesus Again. We know your people love Jesus, and at one time, certainly they loved him immensely. They may think they still do, but maybe what they primarily love is the church as they experience it. Satan has got them to trade the idol of Christ, idling him, and instead make an idol out of the church as I experience it. And so this little book, this little study guide to help you lead your church in falling in love with Jesus again. That's the first step in doing this.
That's right.
And I was just preaching Jesus in every message, singing songs about the cross, talking about the blood, talking about what Christ has accomplished for us, getting them to share their testimonies with you, getting them to think about the gospel.
Amen.
That's number one.
That's number one. And what happens then with spiritual renewal is as we get right with God, we then begin to get right with one another. And that's number two. And that's relational renewal, where love is restored among God's people. And that's really, really important.
You can't have relational renewal without spiritual renewal.
That's exactly right. It won't happen, man.
You won't.
Other than if it happens that way, all you have is a good attitude.
That's right.
And
for
that's
that one
temporary.
day.
Yeah.
For that one
It's
day.
so temporary. Yeah.
And it's so important because, as we've said before, when a church is, in need of revitalization, there are, I'm thinking of a church right now. I won't say the name of it, but it's a situation where there's 40 folks. This is a church our church has been helping. They've started to reach some young families. Well, now all of a sudden, we're about 6 months into this thing, and some of the older folks who have been there a long time, all of a sudden don't like what's happening, right? They don't like what's going on. Well, it doesn't take long in a small church to feel that there's tension between the people here. And what's happened is almost half of those young families who started to come have now left.
Yep.
So the momentum that we were building, all it's taken is a lack of love and grace and care from some folks in the congregation to the other, that lack of relational renewal to now backfire on the efforts of revitalization. Point being, there's nothing that those young families wanted more when they came. That this is awesome. This is an intergenerational church. We were hearing it from them, and we love it. We want to be part of this new work in this neighborhood. We love this neighborhood. And I talked with the pastor. He said, we've lost half those families because they see we don't really love each other.
Yeah.
The church doesn't really love each other.
And again, talking about relational renewal, I think it's important for pastors to help church members understand it is the love of the gospel and the love of Christ and what he's done for us that allows me to love people that I normally wouldn't probably hang out with.
Exactly.
People, I don't understand these young people. I don't like the way they live. I don't like the music they listen to. That's not the point. The point is we're unified in the gospel. And I don't have to, I can be really careful about this. You wouldn't have to necessarily be somebody I would choose to spend all my free time with. That's not what we look for in church. We look for people that we're going to love because Christ loves them. Christ loves us. We're on this thing together.
That's right.
We're in this team together. Very much like that. I've been reading a lot lately because when you get to be our age, you always read about the Second World War. That's what old men do. I don't know why. I read everything I can.
Yeah.
And you read about these young guys in the Second World War, especially I'm reading now about the Pacific, and they end up in Guadalcanal or Peleliu, and most of these young men in the 1940s had never left the state in which they were born. Many of them never left the county in which they were born. And so you would have literally in the same foxhole, you'd have a guy from Mississippi and a guy from Massachusetts and maybe a guy from a farm in Nebraska with nothing in common, right?
Yeah.
But they're in that foxhole together. And they develop this incredible bond where they would die for each other because of the common danger they find themselves in and the common cause they are in. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you are all alike in the way you like everything, the way you brought up, the food you eat.
You may be very different.
You may be very different.
Yeah.
So we're not, and so relationally, you need to get together, and there has to be a love that's restored among God's people, a deep and abiding love. I'm here on battle with you. I'm going to be with you. And you know what? The lost people can like people who are like them.
Yep.
It takes the power of the gospel for you to love someone that's very different than you.
Exactly.
And yet when you do, the world can't ignore that.
Yes.
I don't want to take too
They'll
much
know
time.
we are Christians by our love.
But when the Hebrew widows and the Greek widows were fussing at the church in Jerusalem, and they weren't getting along, you've got two ethnic groups not getting along, right? And yet, when the church came together and worked through that, and those two groups came into unity, then many of the priests in the temple became believers. Yes, I'm sure James and the half brother of Jesus was an amazing preacher. I know Peter was an amazing preacher. But when those priests saw two groups who didn't get along, they said, "Okay, this is worth looking at."
Yeah. What do they have?
Don't miss that.
Yeah, that's good.
God will bring diverse people to you so that your church can set aside your preferences for something greater. So relational renewal is so important, but
Dude,
it will not
great.
happen without spiritual renewal.
That's
Number
right.
3, missional renewal, rediscovering why the church exists. You talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can see how they build off each other. So spiritual renewal, getting right with God, getting my heart right, overflows into a love for God's people, for the church, which then leads us outward to a deep love for the lost. This is where we're talking about true spiritual growth. When a Christian is healthy and when a church is healthy, it will naturally move outward on mission because your heart begins to break over the things that break the heart of Christ. That's the bottom line. And so when we talk about missional renewal, this is moving from being a church, I would say in our circles, that has a right doctrine of mission. Right. I'm not worried about that with Southern Baptists.
Right.
We believe in the mission, man. We believe in making disciples. We believe people need Christ. He's the only way to heaven. I'm not worried about our doctrine. What I care about is the practice of the doctrine. and if you want to get to the heart of it, if our hearts do not break for the lost, for those who are going to hell apart from Jesus Christ, let's just say it, then all I have is a stated theology in my head that has not moved to my heart and will not lead my hands moving outward. And I believe as you grow spiritually, as the Lord captures your heart, as you fall in love with one another, you have a shared mission that you begin to be heartbroken over. And that is, we have to reach those who don't know Christ with the gospel. Eternity is at stake, and we're going to do whatever it takes now. This isn't our church. This is the Lord's church. And so we're willing now to do things like this, put our preferences to the side, right? Because the mission is so clear. Jesus says, go make disciples of all nations, baptize them, teach them. And so we're unified in mission.
But it has to become a mission that is personal to us as our church, in our culture, in our community.
Right, yes.
Otherwise it's just, there's a big difference.
It can't be generic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I'm trying to say. And where I find a lot of churches right now is that they confuse wishing with mission. It's just, we wish that we could reach the lost.
Yeah.
But and we know that we should reach the lost.
Yep.
But there's not that compelling, heartbreaking, desperate faith.
And that's why you got to get your people into the neighborhood. I mean,
absolutely.
literally, like physically
That's
get in the
right.
neighborhood.
You can't love a neighborhood you don't know your
that you don't
don't-
know.
don't-
That's
don't know.
exactly
And
right.
you've got to be in that
You
neighborhood.
got to learn names. It's why within our evangelism strategy at our church, we have what we call it's just called I3, invest, invite, introduce. But we have everybody in our church always keep the name of 3 specific people that they are praying for, that they're investing in, they're looking to invite and invest. Why do we have them write names? Because it gets real. These are real souls, real people. When you keep it at a general level, we got to reach people who don't know Jesus. That doesn't move anybody.
No.
But when you're praying, when my little son, who's in 4th grade at the time, I remember, and we're praying for his little buddy Danny, who doesn't know Jesus, and every night before we go to bed, I'll tell you that starts to click in his mind, and he's looking for opportunities. Daddy, I'm going to invite Danny to VBS this year, and I wanted to hear about Jesus, and that mindset with a 4th grader, but it's the mindset I should have at 85.
Right.
Who's my Danny? So that's leadership stuff too. It's like we got to lead a church, not only spiritually. Spiritual renewal leads to relational renewal, leads to missional renewal.
And then comes programmatic renewal.
Yes, programmatic.
It's still important.
It is.
I know
it is.
sometimes you listen to me and the rest of us, and we just always saying it's not about programs, it's not about programs, it's not about programs. But it is about programs.
It is.
You got to have programs.
And you're going to have them.
You
That's
can't
right.
run a church without programs.
That's right.
And oftentimes your programs need to be renewed.
Exactly.
They need to be updated. They need to be examined. They need to be renewed.
And I think it's probably what you and I both, when we talk about, hey, it isn't about programs. It's really not. It's really what we're saying is about dead, irrelevant, unbiblical, unhelpful programs that do not help us carry out the mission of making disciples.
Exactly.
You know?
And if you jump to programs before you deal with spiritual renewal and relational renewal and missional renewal, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
So you got to have that basis.
Because your programs should reflect those 3
It
things.
should come out of the gospel.
That's right.
Out of your people's love for one another.
Yes.
And out of your people's love for the community.
Amen. And if it doesn't align with those 3 things,
It's not going to work.
why are we doing it?
So that's what you mean. What do you mean by program renewal?
Yep.
It means your programs have to align with what God wants us to do.
Amen. That's well
Not
put.
with what one person in your church feels like is their ministry.
Yeah.
We do this program because this is my ministry. I've always enjoyed doing it. I like it. I like to do it for the church. This is where I find my worth. It's what means a lot to me. Or 2 or 3 people say, we really like this program. We're going to keep doing it. No, does it align? And how does it align?
Exactly. Does
And
it
a lot
and how
of stuff
does
we
it?
do does align.
Yep.
We just don't describe how it does.
Yep.
And our people need to see that everything we do aligns with what God's
That's
called
right.
us to do.
Well, and that's a good word, because so you may have folks in your church who have a ministry that they love to do, and maybe there's some fruitfulness from it, but maybe they need to be reminded, and you need to help them, of how this specifically ties into the greater mission of the church.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes you could just drift, and now you're doing it, and you've forgotten why you started doing it in the first
Even
place.
simple things like Annie Armstrong Easter offering
Yes.
and Lottie Moon Christmas offering.
Totally.
Rather than just say, well, it's time to take the offering again, here's our goal, to say, we have a mission of taking the church,
Yes.
taking the gospel to the nations. And one of the primary ways we do that is through this amazing offering.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna work toward that goal of our. I mean, make sure everything seems to align.
Amen.
And then the programs matter, and the programs are important.
That's
They're
right.
not just a hodgepodge, a potpourri of
Yes.
different things people want at different times.
And it's the word you said, it's the why.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing
Like, it's where Lottie and Annie, when those offerings come up, show videos
Yes.
of real missionaries. Have people share testimonies.
This is why we do
This
it.
is why it matters.
This is why we have Sunday school.
Yes.
We have Sunday school because we want people to grow in their knowledge of Christ, but you've got to say we have Sunday school because we want to get people in Bible study who are not in Bible study.
Come on. Yes.
If that's not your goal for Sunday school, you don't have Sunday school.
What are we doing?
Your
Exactly.
goal needs to be get some people who work with you at work or go to school with you to come to your Sunday school class. That's the whole point of Sunday school, to be an outreach. It's a small group on location the hour before worship. Get unchurched people into that Sunday school class.
love that.
It's why Sunday school was created. It's not why it functions now. It functions now as a closed-off Bible class for a group of people. That's not what it's supposed to be, and that does not align. I'm
Right.
sorry, it doesn't align. It shouldn't align with what your church is doing. The alignment should be we want to reach people. We want to change the
It's good.
community.
It's interesting in the Spanish language. The program is actually two. There are two words. I mean, they're both the same word, but one means it is a system. The other one is a verb.
Really?
Yeah. And so we often confuse the two, and we think we have a program, which is a system, when in fact what we need to be doing is programming people in their minds and the way they receive the gospel.
Good word.
And that's what Sunday school is
Yes.
you are programming.
Yes.
It's a system that actually programs people.
Yeah.
And that's what and that's what I get here. This programmatic renewal is that we are taking a system that we think will work, but we are programming our people with that system.
And again, this isn't a podcast about Sunday school, but back in the day, you would literally maybe even go door to door and say, hey, we have a Sunday school class for your age. I realized that might not have the same attraction that it had in the 1960s, but worship services are sometimes a primary attraction. People will check out your worship service before they ever go to a small group.
It's true.
Or they ever go to Sunday school. So now I think what we need to do is who's coming to our worship services that are not in a Sunday school class? And how can we get those people who are coming on worship to go ahead and be part of a Sunday school class, to be part of a group, to have some connection?
They need to get connected to another environment.
Sunday school classes need to be always aware who's not in a class that comes on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And maybe who's not in a class that I work with that they might come to my Sunday school class. They probably would. If you work with somebody and hey, would you come check out my Bible study class on Sunday morning? They very well might.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, if you don't ask them, they won't come.
They won't.
Right?
That's right.
You can write that down.
That's right.
There
Right.
you go.
That's,
all right.
That's good.
Number 1, spiritual renewal. Number 2, relational. Number 3, missional. Number 4, programmatic. Number 5, the last one, structural renewal. Mark, that means building systems that support ongoing congregational growth and health.
That's right.
Talk about your church and how you had to build structural renewal at Calvary in the first years you were there.
Yeah, this is where let me give an analogy that I think will help. And we've talked about it before, but the analogy is the trellis and the vine, okay? Now, when we think about a vine, okay, in this context, vine represents ministry and growth and people coming to Christ and growing as disciples. That's like where the action is, right? A trellis is the structure that exists so that the vine can grow in healthy ways and produce the fruit that it is made to produce. Now, if you don't have a trellis, a vine can grow like crazy. This is what happens sometimes in church plants when you see this movement. Man, we're reaching people and it's amazing. We got baptisms and all kinds of stuff and this is great. But where there's no trellis, that thing it could choke itself out in time. It gets messy, people get hurt. At the same time, if you're a church that has a beautiful trellis, we've got our systems, we've got our bylaws, we've got our structure, and it looks great, and we like to paint that thing, but actually we're so obsessed with that, there's no life growth at all. It's, you look great on the outside, but it's dead. The trellis doesn't exist for the trellis. The trellis exists for the vine, right? And so, but the trellis in this analogy is what we mean by structural renewal. Like some of us have trellises that were very effective in 1958 or in 1985 or a different time, a different culture for our church. And what's happened now is the trellises or the structure, instead of fueling growth and helping to provide structure to grow even more in healthy ways, it's now preventing growth. It's actually hindering the mission. And many of our churches are experiencing that.
And so one of the things sometimes it's the decision-making process.
Yes.
That over time, different things have been added to it. And now a normative-sized church, relatively small church, their decision-making process can be very cumbersome, very unclear.
Yeah.
They have to take it to the church council, have to run it past the finance committee, then the deacons take a look at it, and then the pastor, then the church votes on it. That's a very cumbersome decision-making process.
Yeah.
That's a lot of different committees looking at it from different lenses, right? And so how can we streamline that so that we still accomplish good accountability, but we can make decisions quicker and better informed?
That's right.
That's what we mean by structure.
Well, and that's what we had to do at Calvary. I mean, as we grew, when I came, we made everybody had a voice in every decision.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. It was unbelievable. You spend $100, you got to vote on it.
It's very believable.
I mean, but it was really, and so we had to, and by God's grace, I had to figure out how to lovingly lead our church to see this is hindering our mission. It actually is. But part of that is I had to help them understand biblically what is the role of pastor, what is the role of deacons, what's the role of the congregation in different functions and roles, committees. I mean, we had 25 committees. We had 25 people in the church.
Yeah.
So
I get
it's
it.
like, listen, guys, we have to move beyond this to a point where what's the goal? And this is where if you have no vision, we want to make disciples, we want to make Jesus famous. How is this structure helping us to do
I was the interim of a church years ago, and my first or second week I was there, they had a business meeting right after church. And again, they probably had a couple of dozen people there, maybe. And I know that business meeting, they had the nominating committee gave their report, and it was an elderly lady with I'll never forget, she had an old dog-eared spiral notebook that she'd handwritten in. And she got up to give the nominating committee report, and here it was. On the kitchen committee, and she named 2 or 3 people, but we need 2 more. So who else will serve on the kitchen committee? Come on. And then she would name people. Betty, would you? Okay, I'll put Betty down. Then I thought, okay, we're done. Nope, we had the library committee. And we don't have anybody on the library committee. We need a couple of people. So Mary, would you and Judy do that if I ask you to? You don't have to do much. Just maybe make sure the library is open. Okay, I'll put you down. All these committees that nobody wanted to be in, that was a structural problem.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
And so that's what we're talking about. Now, that may be an extreme, but some of you are going, that's my church.
Yes.
I get that.
Or the other side of it is where you have the same people on so many different
That's right.
committees.
Yep.
Totally.
But we can't make a decision until our committee meets, even though it's the same people
Exactly.
that you're talking to
I
at the
know.
time.
But structural renewal can only really happen well if these other 4 types of renewal.
You can't start with structural and programmatic.
If your hearts aren't right.
And they build that way.
Yeah, that's right.
In fact, you were talking about before we started this, that each one of these is a foundation for the next
Because
one.
the structural renewal is where the most sacred cows exist.
Yes.
So that's your big. That's why if you start there, you're dead meat.
That's right.
You've got to start with spiritual, relational, missional, programmatic, and then structural. And if that's there, then usually, honestly, everybody's ready for structural change.
And that can take how long? 2 years?
Totally.
3 years?
Yep.
4 years?
Yep.
Guys, we're just telling you.
I think you're for sure looking your first 5 years is what I would say.
Oh, yeah.
And it could happen faster, but don't expect it
Don't
to.
expect it.
Well, my goodness, if you're talking spiritual renewal, you're only talking maybe 2 to 3 years just for that one alone.
Yeah,
one alone,
that's true. That's right.
All right.
All right.
Shall we wrap this up?
I think we should.
Okay. Thank you so much to the North American Mission Board for allowing us to do this. You know what? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. There's just 4 guys that get together that we like each other, and we enjoy doing this.
And we like you guys. We love going out around the country, and you guys come up to us going, man, we love your podcast. We love what you, and you tell us stories that we told that we don't even remember that we told because we don't have scripts or anything. We just sit around and come up with this off the top of our head.
Plus, we don't remember.
And it's true. And out of our heart. And we do love you guys.
Amen.
Thank you and
Absolutely.
all that.
And we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thanks for joining us today on Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton and Mark Hallock. This podcast is brought to you by the North American Mission Board, where we help dying or struggling churches regain health for the glory of God and the good of their communities. If you found this podcast helpful, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. To learn more about becoming a Replant pastor or to explore revitalization resources for your church, subscribe to our monthly newsletter at churchreplanters.com.